So, why don't you start by please introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. My name is Reve Rogers-Bottino. I'm from Elgin, Illinois. I have worked in libraries for 10 years now because I started in high school. Um, I am primarily focused in public and academic libraries. I've worked at a public library 3 years on undergrad to make sure that I actually wanted to be a librarian, which of course I did. And I just graduated from the program last week.
Well, congratulations on that. That's super exciting. And um, when you thought about this program, ages ago now, it probably seems like, what led you to pursue this Library and Information Studies master's program with UW-Madison?
Sure. So I knew I always loved libraries and I wanted to help people, and I definitely found that I was able to do that at the public library. And I knew that I would be able to better do that as a librarian. And so when I was looking around for library and information studies programs, I looked at Madison because it's a very good school. It's a little bit closer to home because I went to undergrad in New York. Um, and I found that Madison, I really liked the program because it was more open. I could take courses in different disciplines. So I didn't have to say I only want to do public libraries or academic libraries. I could take an archives course, an academic libraries course, and a public library course. And that was really appealing to me because I like to learn about different librarianship and archivists. And the TLAM program also was quite interesting to me, the Tribal Libraries, Archives, and Museums program, where you could take a class and then do a service learning project with a tribal nation. And that was really unique and interesting to me. Um, and so that is the openness and the TLAM is why I chose this program.
Yeah. And is that what you ended up doing, kind of doing a broader spectrum of coursework rather than one focus area?
Yes,
Great.
yes, I did. I did take archives courses. I took academic public libraries, TLAM. Yeah, I did end up doing that, and I really enjoyed it.
Wonderful. When it came to your practicum, how did you go about finding that practicum placement? What resources or strategies were most helpful in your process?
Sure. So I did have something in mind that I wanted the practicum because I had worked in academic and public libraries. And I wanted something like that, but I also wanted a new experience. So I knew I wanted public service.
Hmm.
Um, and I met with the coordinator for the practicum program, Jamie Healy Plotkin, to talk about options with practicum placement. Um, and it got a little bit narrowed down with her. And then I actually ended up self-sourcing my practicum because
Okay.
I had done a shadowing interview for my reference class a semester before with the Wisconsin Historical Society Archives Reference Desk, and I really loved it. And was like, well, what if I do my practicum there? Because that's public services, but it's also something I haven't entirely done, which is archives. Um, and that was quite helpful to speak to Jamie about that, to have my own goals set.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Great. So what did that practicum kind of end up looking like?
sure. So that practicum, I would shadow at the reference desk and help people. Later on, I was able to help people at the reference desk up in the archives. And I answered a lot of reference tickets, like emails. In the archives reference desk, it's interesting because we don't do a whole lot of reference in person. It's mostly via email or on the phone. Um, in fact, I get 15,000 emails a year that
Wow.
are really like in-depth reference questions. So it looked like my site supervisor, Lee Grady, pulling uh, those questions and seeing if I can go and do in-depth research into the collections to see if I can find someone's person that was in World War II, or find maps for a cold case, or see if these French women, what we had about the French women that came in the 1970s to speak for abortion to be legalized. And it was really going through in depth to see if I could find something a little bit more than the librarians would able to do due to time constraints. And I would do that on the day to day, and I also had a couple other projects.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Um, what did you most enjoy about the practicum experience and what made it meaningful for you?
Sure. So I really love my practicum. And honestly, it was a highlight of both my semester and my degree. Um, I really loved working with the people, both the people that worked there and with people in person that would have reference questions or just would want to know about the collections and stuff like that. And I did really enjoy working on my projects because I was able to delve into the collection to find like hidden treasures in the collection because we Wisconsin Historical Society is second only to the Library of Congress in their newspaper collection. So I was able to go and delve and find like an original account in a newspaper about the Boston Tea Party or the Emancipation Proclamation and stuff like that. And like indexing as well. And these were all experiences that I hadn't had before. And so I did really enjoy being able to go and find that I uh, was able to do something new every day.
Yeah. Um, what are some key skills or insights that you gain through your practicum that you feel will carry into your future career?
Sure. So it was quite helpful to do research. I went to a very research writing heavy undergraduate school. But that was mostly like articles and books that I would go and search. And this is very hands-on collections. You don't know what you're gonna find in a collection. It could be papers, it could be medals, it could be handwritten journals. And so that was really interesting to be able to work with those physical objects and go into a collection and find stuff that was quite meaningful. And also, uh, it was both the successes and the failures that were helpful because sometimes I would go into a collection and try to find something that someone was looking for. Um, and I would search for hours and I would just there would be a certain point where I was like, I can't find it.
Yeah.
I've done the work and I can't find it. And I know that that was quite helpful at the public library was to be able to be I'm sorry I can't do that, but this is what I can do. And so this was a deeper version of that where like I've done all this research and I can't find it and I'm sorry. And it was an important experience for me to be able to know that sometimes you won't find things, but to be able to do the work and be able to tell people, you know, this is what we did. And this is where you can jump off of if you need to, if you want to do more research into it. And that was quite
Yeah.
helpful.
Is that type of service something that the Wisconsin Historical Society just offers? Like someone emails, are they kind of guaranteed an answer from one of the librarians?
So the email, there's a long queue, yeah, because
Okay.
15,000, and it's coming from um, all across the US, and we definitely got a bunch of international ones as well. You will get a response at some point, but the in-depth research that I was doing, they wouldn't be able to normally do.
Hmm.
Um, Normally, someone would have to hire a researcher to go through a collection. So by me being there, I was able to go do that for the people for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a normal a thing that they would do. It was a little bit more
Yeah,
in depth.
that's so cool. What a unique service you were
Yeah.
offering. And they weren't paying for it or anything. You're just there finding their
Yeah.
answers.
Yep.
Cool.
We're trying to.
So, yeah, yeah, most of the time you're doing your best. Balancing a practicum like that alongside coursework and other life responsibilities obviously can be challenging. So, what strategies did you use to manage your time and stay organized?
Sure. So I did my practicum my last semester here,
Hmm.
and it was in person. And I am a TA, so I was teaching, and I also had three classes of myself of my own, and I was working at a library. So three jobs, three classes. And it was quite helpful to set aside time specifically for, okay, I'm gonna grade papers here in my office hours, and then I'm gonna answer discussion posts here for my classes. Um, and what I actually really liked about my practicum was that once I went into my practicum, I wouldn't think about anything else. I wouldn't think about the papers I had to grade or the things, the projects that I had to do. I would just be present and be able to delve into a collection and help people. Um, and so I think just being present was quite
Mm-hmm.
helpful for me to do my practicum, and then keep my time um, separated with what I
Yeah.
would do then.
A lot of time blocking, it sounds like.
A lot of time blocking.
Yeah. Well, looking back, is there anything that you would do differently in your practicum process or advice that you'd like to offer to incoming students preparing for this requirement?
Sure. So I wouldn't do anything differently. I think that a part of the practicum is an online course, and we did LAO objectives, which is like learning objective agreement, at the beginning of the practicum with your site supervisor. And we would go through like what we thought we were going to get done, like the goals and stuff like that. I ended up getting all those goals done, which was great. Um, I do think that sometimes that doesn't happen. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that knowing that your practicum and the basic core is you getting experience. So sometimes that's going to be an amazing experience, sometimes it's going to be less of an amazing experience, but it's still going to be an experience that you can take with you into your classes, into your life, into your new career. Um, and I found that that was really meaningful and important to me. So sometimes you're not going to have a really great day, but knowing you're like, that's an experience. Now I know how to handle that a little bit better. That's what I would take away from the practicum the most.
Yeah. Anything that you wanted to add?
Hmm. I would just say also be a little bit flexible with what's going to happen with your practicum. Take those experiences and then be a little bit flexible. Sometimes you don't, it's not going to be exactly what you think it is, and sometimes it's going to be greater than that. So being flexible with it along with those experiences, I would say, is something that I have to add.
Well, thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate it.